everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Take Citizen Engagement from Adequate to Effective with Power BI. In this session, we will learn how Power BI for citizen engagement can help you track, report on, and take action on vital feedback from your citizens. My name is Petra Dennison, Marketing Manager here at AKA Enterprise Solutions, and I'll be moderating the presentation. Before we get started, I wanted to run through a couple of housekeeping notes. To optimize the viewing quality of the presentation, please close any programs that you have running besides GoToWebinar. If you experience any visual or audio issues, please contact GoTo at care.citrixonline.com/GoToWebinar/contact us. It's right there on the screen. Also, I wanted to point out the questions pane at the control panel in the upper right corner of your screen. Using this functionality, you may submit questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll address as many as possible during the Q&A session at the end of today's session. Also, this presentation is being recorded, and you'll be sent a link to the recording at the end of today's session. I would now like to introduce Mike Hammons, Director of the BI practice here at AKA Enterprise Solutions. Mike?
Great. Thank you, Petra, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We've got an exciting presentation for you to review with you. Before we do that, I just want to take a quick couple of polls here. And so one of the first polls we want to ask is, what do you think the most challenging aspect of citizen engagement is? So you should be seeing your poll there, and we'll give everybody a few seconds to provide their answers. And we've got answers coming in. In that case, I'll just let you know. As Petra said, I'm Mike Hammons, Director of Business Intelligence Practice. My focus is on helping you create intelligent, actionable dashboards, analytics, and reporting. I also have a very deep background in CRM and feel that BI in particular is kind of where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, in terms of getting the maximum value out of your citizen-facing systems. So it looks like we've got some good responses there. Citizen feedback is not representative. Theirs is a big one. Feedback is difficult to compile. So kind of a close tie between those two. Very good. So I'm going to close that poll, and then we're going to ask one more question. And which social media tool do you use most from a citizen engagement perspective? So we'll give everybody a few seconds to answer that question as well. What we are finding is that, particularly on the government side of things, most often they're just kind of dipping their toe in the water. There's Facebook pages out there, but not really a whole lot in terms of being able to truly take effective action on those conversations. It's really still, for the most part, more one way, where citizens are pushing in either via email, via phone call, et cetera, and you're going to see a study here shortly that'll kind of back up some of that information. So looks like we've got kind of a mix between Facebook and Twitter, Facebook leading, so good to know. Yeah, and that's pretty much confirms what we've been seeing. So let's go back to our presentation here. We're going to close the poll and start sharing our screen again. All right. So we've got a few slides that we're going to cover beforehand, and then we're going to jump into some demonstration. So first of all, we want to talk just briefly about our perspective of why citizen engagement. Oops, wrong direction. And we understand that, today cities of all sizes, they face big challenges. You've got shrinking revenues, budget cuts, aging infrastructure, right? We're talking about having $1 billion plus in infrastructure bills passing here probably in the near future. The other one is growing populations, right? Cities are getting bigger. From the smallest to the largest, they just keep getting bigger. And so as folks on the government side of things, we really need to help understand how we can deliver services and capabilities that put our citizens and our businesses first, right? And so that's really what citizen engagement is about. And it should be, when we talk about engagement, that's a two-way conversation. It's not just one way. It's not just us pushing out data and pushing out information. It's really going out and having those two-way conversations and dialogues. The other aspect of that is, even if you're a small city, even a very small town, you've got usually thousands of pieces of infrastructure, from piping to roads to parks to buildings to you name it, street lights, street lamps, the list goes on. And keeping track of all those is pretty challenging. And in particular, you can't have eyes everywhere, so you really need to rely on citizens to be able to do that, and that's part of engagement. So we're going to talk really about how you can use some of these new digital technologies to transform your organization to be a better citizen engagement platform. As I mentioned, there's a study. We talked a little bit about the changing landscape. Today, in 2017, a little over half of people live in cities. So there's been that great migration from the early 1900s or 1800s from being more rural to now being more city focused. And it's estimated that by 2050 there'll be about 6 billion people, or about 70% of the population, will live in those cities. So that provides even greater challenges for folks that are trying to help those people that are living in our cities, right? So we've got, you need to be able to monitor citizens' conversations, engage with those conversations, provide more avenues for those conversations, whether it be the phone, the email, our websites, our social. And so that's really what we're talking about here today. So AKA and Microsoft have been partnering with governments to really help increase citizen engagement. So let's talk briefly about what's changed in recent years, right? Well, we've already kind of touched on it, and that is social media is the big thing. Also the other two, phones and tablets. We now live at, I think there's somewhere close to approaching 3 billion smartphones on the planet. So we're getting close to the point of, in a few years, almost every person will have or be able to access a smartphone, right? That's how we now begin to communicate, and more, Facebook's got well over 1 billion users. Microsoft Office over 1 billion users. And so as we use those things in our daily lives, those citizens and constituents expect to be able to do the same thing when engaging with their governments. All right. As we mentioned, the other challenges, right? We've got road repairs, we've got abandoned vehicles, we've got lights that go out, we got stop signs we've got to take care of, natural disasters, right? If a big, huge boulder falls on the main artery into your town or city, that's going to be a problem. And you may not know about it, but the first person who is coming down the road and sees that, they're going to reach out to their government and try to help them understand that, hey, we got to get this thing resolved and quick. In some of the same studies that we've seen recently, and I mentioned citizens, increasingly expect convenient ways to voice their feedback and opinions and have dialogues with their governments. But what we're finding is still 3/4 of government, in a recent survey, said that people are still relying mostly on phone, email, and in person, right? And that's simply because from a government perspective, we haven't been able to keep pace with those changes and be able to more effectively provide those additional channels of communication. And that leads into that whole social media thing, right? 1 in 10 now get their news through Twitter. 30% of Americans get their news through Facebook. Believe it or not, 30% now getting their news through Facebook. 45, almost half Twitter users get their news in that 18 to 29-year-old bracket. So the folks that are starting to vote, right? At 18, we start voting, and at 29, that's a big constituent. That's kind of that, that area that people love to be able to communicate with. And these folks grew up on digital, right? They don't know anything else. So it's up to us as technologists and as consultants to be able to help those governments take more and better advantage of those capabilities. Now, it is changing. Governments are moving in the right direction. We've got agencies that have started creating online portals. They are using Facebook and Twitter. We saw that in the poll. And they're providing more avenues for customers to interact. More importantly, it's beginning to be that creative two-way dialogue. So it's not just about gathering data and information. It is about the two-way conversations. And what that ultimately leads to is information, right? And information is really, if you think about it, is as healthy to a functioning community as clean air, safe streets, good schools, public health, by having those two-way dialogues and being able to communicate directly wherever that person and however that person likes to receive that information is vitally important. And to give you an idea here, here's the value pyramid. It's someone really smart came up with the value pyramid. And as you can kind of see on the bottom half is what's less important. The higher we go up the pyramid, the more important. So if we're just looking at data, well, that's okay, but it doesn't really help us make any actionable intelligence, right? It doesn't help us as much as if we had information. And information kind of gets us the next step up the rung. We get to find out and get answers to who, what, where, when. That helps us gain knowledge. And now we can start to answer some of those how questions, which then leads us to understanding, appreciation of why are these things happening. And then ultimately wisdom is, how do we evaluate and act on those things. So here's a kind of a real world example from a flooding perspective. We might know pipe sizes in our areas, what streets are potentially prone to flooding, the amounts of flooding that happens, the height of the water, the speed of the water, things along those lines. But in and of themselves doesn't really help us. But then we get up to the information, now we can start to get some of those questions like what's the water level in the river? When does it swell up? Where's the location of the water lines? Which areas are most prone to flooding? Which leads to knowledge, right? How do we control the level? Do we need some new, whatever, I think those things that they used in New Orleans where they put in big, huge gates in the ground, right? How fast does the water rise? How soon do we need to start letting our constituents know that they might be in an area that's prone to a flood or a flood's coming and get them out of there and get them help, right? And then we go back to why is it rising, and then ultimately, the wisdom comes in as what should people be doing next. That's what we want to get to. So if we think about that from from a communication perspective, an engagement perspective, word of mouth is truly awesome, especially when it's positive. Right? Here's a couple examples of some Twitter and Facebook posts where constituents and citizens actually are providing kudos to the organization. Okay? We love those. But we all know it's not always pretty, right? They're not always positive. More often than not, people are going to reach out with an issue they want addressed versus just saying how great things are. Right? It's just kind of the way that human nature is. So in that same instance, we find that there's some ongoing crimes, some robberies that happened. Somebody wasn't happy about the parade and how that was handled. So we don't just want to let those sit and lie out there without any answers, right? Without any responses. And that's what we're going to cover today is how can you use some of the tools that are available today to be able to engage. Okay? And ultimately, Eric Qualman, he's done lots of social media studies. He said that, ultimately, we don't have a choice of whether we do it or not, whether we do social media in particular, but it really should become more of a question of how well we do it, right? And so that's what we're going to cover today. And again, a few people really much smarter than me have said that, there were 4 key principles in citizen engagement success, right? From an application or solution perspective. Make it easy, make it attractive, make it social, and make it timely. If you can cover those 4 areas, you're setting yourself up for great success. And so with that, we feel that Microsoft has developed a platform that will help do just those things. Okay? And within it, there's now modules that you can take advantage of. So if you wanted to start with customer service, you can start with customer service. You don't have to have the whole thing. But there's now new additional capabilities from a field service perspective, a project perspective, finance, ERP capabilities are all in the same platform. And we're going to cover, the Power BI part, but we're also going to touch on some of these other capabilities that we feel truly makes the Dynamics application a game changer. Right? And so here's what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to get my little laser pointer here and give you kind of an idea of what we're talking about. So we're going to touch a little bit on Office 365. Power BI is kind of the star of the show, and I believe the glue that kind of brings all these things together. Dynamics 365 and what is it, and we're going to show you a little bit of our citizen engagement module. But it really is, we feel, just a very powerful platform that is much easier to use, is getting smarter, getting more intelligent, and allows us to much more effectively engage with our citizens. So let's talk a little bit about that, aka citizen engagement capabilities. It is built on the Microsoft platform, and it's a solution that helps government achieve more what we call people-centric productivity. You know, and really help with the engagement of your constituents. And our breadth of experience, we've done lots and lots of work in public sector. That's really, you know, one of our main areas of focus. And within our citizen engagement model, which is built on the Dynamics 365 platform, we've got 311 services. We're going to cover some of that today, but it can be extended. You can do permits and licensing, grant management, youth and community development, citizen case management, public health outreach. If it's got something to do with kind of your citizen-facing activities, this platform is, we feel, one of the best platforms available for that. A few of the key features, we're going to touch on inquiry and case tracking. We're not going to do too much on the mail, but you can do customizable mail and email templates, routing of cases, very tight Office and Outlook integration. I'm going to show you a little bit of that. A very powerful workflow engine. You know, it helps with what I call automate the mundane. Right? It helps with letting the system be proactive and telling you what's happening versus you kind of going in and searching for what's happening. But in addition to that, you know, the other powerful piece, dashboards, charts, and reportings. And that, to me, is, again, that's where the rubber's hitting the road, and it's helping you understand, get to that wisdom level that we're after, which is what leads us into Microsoft Power BI. You know, so. For example, if you've ever been on a walk and you spotted a pothole in the street or some graffiti on a building, you know, you probably weren't too happy about it. You would at least hope that the city has plans to fix that problem, but maybe they don't know about it yet, right? So if you wanted to take action on yourself today, you might have to either go to a website and fill out a contact us form and let them know, or you have to pick up the phone and call. You know, first you got to find the phone numbers and find the right phone numbers, which even with Google, you know, and all its wonderful search capabilities, is not always easy to find. Things along those lines. You know, so those are the types of things that we're trying to help eliminate. You know, we're using Microsoft solutions to drive efficiency for whether you're a small town or a large town, or even some of our larger federal government customers. You know, it really is a platform that can help them. And it does that by, it's fast and easy. It can tap into multiple different data sources. You're going to see some of that today. It helps with the discovery and exploration. It's helping us get to the wisdom level. It also helps improve collaboration, and more importantly, it can also now be accessed anywhere, anytime, even on a smartphone. So we take advantage of those same things. And I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but this is really the kind of the Power BI overview of capabilities. But what we wanted to help you understand is that, you know, it's a very powerful platform that helps us do visualizations, reporting, and analytics. So from the simple to the more complex. And let's just say for a moment that, you know, maybe you're not ready for the cloud, because what we're talking about today is mostly cloud-based solutions. However, that's not a big problem because we can implement these capabilities that still allow you to keep your data on premise. And we do that through what's called direct query, which means that basically you pull up a chart or a graph or a visualization, and it's just doing a live query to the data that is sitting on your own servers behind your own firewall. So regardless of whether you're ready or not to make the cloud leap, Dynamics 365 and including in that Power BI can handle those capabilities. So where else can Power BI help? So from a state and local government, and we're going to cover some of these things, call center statistics, 311 analysis, 911 emergency analysis, education. I'm going to show you a little bit on an education dashboard, public transportation, how can we improve that, healthcare, public safety, Medicare, right? It's a big topic these days. You know, you need a tool and systems and solutions to help you take better advantage of what's coming, and particularly in the changes and regulations that are happening. Here's a quick little case study, and then we're going to jump into a demonstration here. Lancaster City Council, they really wanted better insight into the services it provided to their customers. But what they were finding is, you know, is very heavily Excel-based. It was time-consuming. They had to do a lot of manipulation to get data out of those multiple systems that they had. It wasn't easily shareable. You know, they had many, many different systems and many different reporting tools. So while Excel was the big one, they had a few others, right? And so depending on what department you had, you might have different sets of tools. took days, sometimes longer, to track down information to either complete a task or to get an answer. But by deploying our Microsoft-based solution, they were able to much more quickly find the data. It was in one place. They had one portal to go to find everything that they needed. I'm going to show you that today too. So with that, we're going to jump into our demonstration. All right. So let's see here. We're going to start with a slight little overview of our Power BI, or I'm sorry, our Office 365. Okay, so mentioned, that's one of the core components of this platform. And so I don't know if you've ever heard, I've heard it, and I used to say it a lot, I sure wish I had one place to go that gave me access to all the tools and information that I need to do my job. Right? And so now we have it. So you see here, I have my email, I have my calendar, we're going to cover our Power BI, our social engagement. We're going to show you how you can take really strong advantage of that. Our Dynamics 365 platform. There's a few others that we're not going to cover today, but you can see everything that I really need, including my Word, my Excel, my PowerPoint, are all right here with 1 or 2 click access. You know, that's how close I am now to finding all that information. You know, even our SharePoint if you're using SharePoint. So it's all here and ready and easy to take advantage of. Nice user-friendly screen, right? That always helps with user adoption. So first of all, let's take a look at some of the navigation. So I can either start from here. You'll also notice there's a little waffle icon. That's what we call it, the waffle icon. And it gives me just direct access to the rest of our applications that we need to do. Okay, we're going to first start, we're going to talk about how and demonstrate how constituents can engage with us. Right? So one of the first ones and probably the most popular today is really still email, right? We still, even though there's been attempts to get rid of it, email's still pretty much king. Okay? So I'm going to go into my email application. Now I'm showing this on the Outlook for Web application, but the capabilities I'm going to show you here work exactly the same if you happen to like Outlook on your desktop. Okay? So here's my inbox, and we see that a constituent sent something in. Hi, to concerns. There's some graffiti in the park dugout. Can someone please help with this? You know, thank you, concerned citizen. And you'll notice here there's a little D icon, and I can actually tap that. And now what it's going to do is it's going to look into our citizen engagement platform and see if we have any information about this particular citizen. Right? And so we see that it's going out, it's looking, doing a query, and says, hey, wait a minute, I don't find this citizen in our database yet. So with one click, I can add that citizen to our citizen engagement database. Right? That's how simple and easy it is. So from one inbound email, I can create that citizen record inside our system. And now all ongoing interactions and communications will be tracked with this particular citizen. Now you see here, it allows me, if I can capture any other additional information, we can go ahead and enter that. I'm just going to go ahead and save those details. And then from here, we can now begin to do additional interactions, right? So if I wanted to, for example, go ahead and create a task or phone call or an email and reply, I can do that. And any of these actions will be recorded automatically for me. Okay? So I can do everything I need from an engagement perspective right from within my Outlook, the application that, you know, a significant number of us anyway use day in and day out. And it's usually the first thing we check when we come in the morning. What emails have come in, what ones are urgent, which ones do I got to respond to right away, which ones can I kind of put off until later in the day, right? Things along those lines. And then if I wanted to, I can then also open up that record, and now we can see details about that particular customer, I'm sorry, that particular citizen, and all of those interactions that have happened. So you'll see here that when this citizen record comes up, we'll see that that email was actually pulled out of my Outlook, and a copy of that was put into the citizen engagement database. Right? And so, you know, we find that now you've got one simple, easy place to find all of those interactions. So think about that. Regardless of now what department you're in, you'll be able to see interactions that anybody in government services are having with our constituents. Right? So you'll see here is that email that was just tracked inside of the citizen engagement database. Now notice here what it also did. It said, hey, man, it sees that, you know, it thinks based upon an analysis of the information in the email that there's an issue here. And so it very nicely and conveniently will allow me to go ahead and create a case. You know, some people call this a work order, some people call this a ticket, but it's a way for us to now assign a unique tracking number and provide services to that customer in getting that particular issue resolved, right? So now you can see here that those details are now encompassed, encased in a case, right? And so now I can add additional data and information here. So let's say that, you know, maybe I wanted to help search the knowledge base. And does the knowledge base have any suggestions for me to help this citizen, right? So there's how do you report or repair graffiti? There's something on leisure and recreation. If I wanted to now from here, we can go ahead and link this article, and we're going to email it to that constituent. Okay. So here now we're going to respond to that. The template and information is assigned, and then info on graffiti you sent us. Boom. One of these days I'll learn to type and talk at the same time, but this is an email, or this is a demonstration. Boom, we hit send, and now I see that we have additional information that is now captured based upon me searching your knowledge base, sending that information out to that citizen, and hopefully they now have a much better and more positive experience with us. All right, let's move on to another situation. Let's say that a citizen is going to send a tweet, right? And so they go into their Twitter application, regardless of whether it's on a phone or what. I'm just going to go ahead and send this through the web browser. So you'll see this is, I'm on my Twitter, and we just popped a tire in a large pothole on Dean Street near 5th Avenue. So let's go ahead and we're going to send that out via Twitter. Boom. And there you see that it was just sent. So now, how do we begin to act on that information, right? But first, before we do that, let's give you one other scenario. Let's say maybe we're kind of moving into a little bit more of the advanced stages, and we do have a portal site that allows constituents to at least fill out a web form, right? So we can do that as well. Okay? So here is our Contoso City Citizen Self-Service Portal website. Okay? So we can see there's issues going on, some popular topics that are happening. We can, you know, fill out information for licenses and those types of things. Not only that, we can even expose information. You know, there's a big process underway and a big movement towards open data, what's called open data, where government institutions are providing as much information they have about constituents and about cities and running how cities and towns and federal agencies are run, and provide that to others that they can access that information, right? Open data project or something like that. So using Power BI, we can actually post dashboards right on our portal. Now keep in mind, this portal that we're looking at is also part of the Dynamics 365 platform. And so we're now seeing this kind of the melding of these capabilities all from this single platform. And so you see now, I've got my dashboard for local and regional government, and I can see that we've got, you know, some road collisions, information on our air quality, and then we're tracking trees. You know, we want more oxygen, right? Because of global warming, we want to make sure that we can all still continue to breathe. Trees are important to that. Crimes, parking tickets, population control, or you know, how many people are coming into our cities and town and relocating. If I kind of scroll through, I see, oh, here's now more details on the accidents and where are they happening. So if I start to drill down into here, you can see that, you know, the larger circles mean that there's more accidents happening in those areas. So that can begin to help us get to that wisdom stage. Like, look, there's a pretty high percentage of accidents happening in this corner and in this intersection. You know, that now allows us to go out and figure out what might be happening there that's causing so many more accidents than in the other areas, right? Is it a street light timing problem? Is it, you know, maybe the signs aren't clear enough for the stop signs? It could be any number of things, right? But now you've got the visibility into that information so that you can act on it. And I'll scroll through one more here. and that, here's a list of kind of our air quality. Where are we seeing, issues with potentially smog or other reported things that are related to air quality. Okay, so that's how I can take advantage of this, just put it right on my portal. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sign in, right? So we're going back to, here's another way for me to engage with my government. And let's go in. So I'm logging into the portal that they've so conveniently provided to me. Oops, I got to spell that right. And there we go. So this takes me now to my portal page, and we can now see, for example, details and information that the city or town has on me. So I can go to my profile. I can update information to my profile. So any of these details, if I want to give them my business number, that's actually going to update our database for us. So as soon as we hit update, that now is updating our citizen engagement database. But we can also now go to support, right? And so now I'm going to create a ticket for that pothole, right? So let's go in, or let's just say this one, we're going to do some graffiti on Main Street. So we saw here, oh, look, I've already got a ticket that I've created. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new one. And this one, we're going to be graffiti. And now look, see, based upon the keywords here, it's going to potentially offer me some suggestions that I might be able to now resolve my issue immediately, right, without having to go through a long process or wait for somebody to respond. But we're going to go ahead and say, no, those aren't really going to help me. So we're just going to go ahead and say there's a problem, and we're going to call it graffiti, and we'll just paste in some of the detail there. If I wanted to, I could upload a file, right, take a picture of it and upload it, boom. And so now that's another way that you can use the Microsoft platform and Dynamics 365 platform to engage with your citizens. So now we see two open statuses. We can come up, the citizen can update it, our folks that deal with our citizens can update it, and everybody stays up to date, right? It's that two-way communication. So let's now see what happened on the citizen engagement side of things. Okay, so we're going to go into our service request here. And if we want, we can, you will see that, yeah, there's the graffiti on the wall, right? And there's the pothole in the street. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just open up this case record. And because this is some graffiti, I know as a person that is responding to that citizen that I want to create a work order for somebody in the Parks Department to go out and take care of that, right? So this is, true engagement action orientation, right? We're customer citizen posts us about a problem, we're going to take care of it as quickly as we can. Okay, so using this capability here, again, we can use the knowledge base. We can see that it was already kind of surfacing some information that might be able to help us. We see the details of past interactions there. But you know what? In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and create that work order for somebody in the Parks Department. So I want to convert this case to a work order. And you can just think of the work order as basically a notice for that person with the details that they need to go and address that problem. Okay? So we're going to create a new work order. And now, oftentimes if I'm just responsible, say this is our 311 center, somebody else might be responsible for going in and scheduling that person. Today, since it's a demo, I'm going to show you then how that person can use this platform to go in and schedule a person to go in and take care of that. Okay? So we're going to do that through our access to our field service capabilities. Right? So we're going to go into our field service and we're going to go to our schedule board. And, oops, and we're going to go to our field service. And we're going to go to our schedule board. Okay. And so the schedule board is going to show me all of the resources that we have available to us. You can think these are the employees of the county. It could also be contractors if you work through contractors. But it allows me to see their availability, right? And have they already been assigned work or activities to take care of? And now I'm going to take one of those work orders and we're going to assign it to that individual so that what happens in the background, and we're not going to demonstrate this part, but they will get either a text or an email notification, a link back to the record, as well as the details of that in the email, so that they know immediately that they've got to go and take care of that graffiti that's on the wall in the park dugout. Right? So you can see here we have a list of all of the different work orders, and I'm just going to sort these from oldest to newest. So there's the most recent ones. And so I see these are a list of all of the resources that we have that can go in and take care of those issues. Now, if I hover, we'll see that, you know, folks have certain particular skills. So we could even go in and search for a particular skill, you know, if they're in a particular department, things along those lines that will help us much more quickly and efficiently get this issue addressed. But in here, we're just going to go in and say, you know what, they're in an open slot here at 10 a.m. So I'm just going to go in and drag that and drop it. And now we see that at that point, this is going to initiate that text notification or email notification to that individual. So Alicia here is going to get that work order showing up on her device, or if she's sitting in the office still, she'll get that show up in her email inbox in Outlook. Right? So pretty sweet, right? So within literally 5 minutes of a citizen telling me about some graffiti, I was able to take action on that, respond to them with a potential article, let them know what our process is, and then get that assigned as an item to be taken care of to an individual in the Parks Department. Pretty nice, right? Yes, absolutely, I think so. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the tweet that we saw earlier, right? So we're going to go in and we're going to see how can we know that that tweet happened other than monitoring our Facebook page, right, or our Twitter feed. So in this case, we're going to go and look at what we call the citizen engagement, social engagement. Okay, so this is now a part of Dynamics 365. You can see here, here's our waffle icon. Oops, and it'll take me to the open page there, and you'll see it's all part of our application here, right? Mail, Word, PowerPoint, etc. And what it's doing is it's monitoring social feeds for us. So it's looking at websites, at blog posts, at Twitter, at Facebook, at Instagram, all of those social channels that we provide an avenue for our citizens to engage with us. It's monitoring those, as well as many, many others. Not only that, but it's also applying some intelligence, some artificial intelligence, to determine, is this a positive message, or is this a negative message, or is it just kind of neutral, right? So you can see here there's been 20% positive, the vast majority are neutral, but there are a few negatives here as well. If I wanted to just hone in on what those negative messages were, I can just click on that little red bar there, and the data is going to change to reflect just those negative issues, right? So here now I can see, you know, are there those, you know, I want to address those first, right? It's also kind of showing me what are the negative phrases. So it looks like potholes are bubbling up to be a big issue, right? We're starting to see now that, hey, there's some street infrastructure issues where a lot of potholes are out there, a lot of people are writing in about them. Okay. So let's turn those filters off, and now let's see some of the details specific to those conversations. So I'm going to go and flip open the post here, and I should see the tweet that came in regarding that pothole. So let's see here, and if not, we'll just pick one off the top of the list and show you how we can now respond to that. Okay, so we'll just do that. Let's pick here, somebody's got a good name. So there, pothole repair, Percy Road, great one, right? So notice here that I can reply, so I don't have to be in Twitter now, right? I don't have to monitor Twitter and then a separate browser monitor my Facebook, and a separate browser monitor my Instagram. This is now collecting all that information for me and putting it in one simple, easy place. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead. I could do a reply. I can, you know, again, part of engagement is pushing out that information to our followers, right? So you've got followers that this person doesn't. So we could reply to that. We could like that. We could now post a link to maybe be helpful for them. But not only that, we can now take that and we're going to create a record of this interaction, You know, it's an engagement interaction inside of our CRM, inside of our citizen engagement platform. So I can either turn them into a company record. You know, maybe it was a business that was calling in. I could turn it into a citizen record, a citizen request, that's our cases, or even just a lead. So I'm going to turn that into a citizen request, and I'm addressing pothole notice on Twitter, right? And let's hit create. And so now that's taking the details of that Twitter message and pushing it, just like that email was pushed into the citizen record. Now we're creating a citizen record for Andy, and we're now copying those details of that interaction, and we're now going to be able to see that detail inside of our CRM application. Right? So here we go, pothole completed. And now, you know what, I want to go ahead and I want to open that one up. Just like I was able to open it up from my email, I can open it up from within my social engagement monitoring application. Now, what you're going to see here is that not only did it capture the contents of that Twitter interaction, but also has created a case for me, right? Because that was really why I wanted to do this. That's the reason I wanted to push it into CRM, so that I could note that we had that interaction as well as take action on that, right? We want to get something done. That's what our citizens want from our governments, right? Get things done. We could certainly have a very long conversation on that one, couldn't we? Man, that's all I want is just get stuff done. But that's a topic for another day, so we won't jump into that. But you'll see here now it's going to show me, hopefully in a few seconds here, the interaction that was captured into Twitter, and then I'll briefly show you how that was opened up as a new case record, a citizen request record as well. And then we're going to kind of follow up with the dashboarding capabilities here. So let's give it another couple of seconds here, and maybe if we'll go into here. So what this will do is this will take me to my service dashboard for the citizen engagement platform. Okay. So you see here's a list of all of our existing issues, and so there's the pothole in the street, right? And so from here now, if I open that up, we'll see, see the details of that particular interaction. So with that, again, think about it. We saw it come in, we saw it, what the issue was, we responded to the issue, created a case, a unique tracking number for it, and now we've got a very happy citizen who sees how engaged we are and see how quickly we respond to the issues that they're helping us see what's going on out there. So let's go in. All right, try one more time here, and then if that doesn't work, we'll finish out with the dashboards and the Power BI capability. All right, so yeah, and sometimes, you know, there we go. Is that, no, Murphy's still rearing his head here. It's going to be a few more seconds, and if not, we're going to go into our dashboards here. So, all right, let's go into our dashboards now. So we're going to go into our citizen management citizen service dashboard. Okay, and this is where we're getting to the BI and the analytics capability. So in here, the system is rolling up and showing us the number of active cases, who has ownership of those cases. If we have different queues, right, might have a queue for each department. So there's a parks department queue, street and maintenance queue, building maintenance queue, et cetera, so that it helps people just focus and narrow in on what their particular responsibilities are. Notice that it also is now surfacing up emails. It's also telling me, hey, wait a minute, there hasn't been any activity on a case that was created, right? So it's again, it's a system telling you what's happening, helping you take action instead of you having to think about it, write it down in a notepad somewhere, put it on a sticky, right? I mean, we can still do those things, but this is so much faster and far fewer things fall through the cracks here. We can also now take a look at, for example, the social capabilities here. So we were seeing that inside of another full application, how I could interact with the social interactions that are happening out in the public, right? But we can actually now take that information from that application because they're all seamless. As you notice here, that's a theme that's going throughout these applications, is it's very seamless and now allows me to see data and information from our social engagement platform right inside my customer service and citizen engagement platform. So I can see, are they positive, are they negative, what language, and you can narrow this down into a certain area. So if you just wanted to say for your town, your city, your county, that's certainly possible. Here's a list of the actual social interactions that are happening. We've got a bunch of blog posts, got some Facebook posts, some videos, news. All that is now surfaced inside of our application. Trends, right? But now we can also take that and combine that with other information from other areas of our organization. So if we go into our citizen engagement dashboard, now we're going to see a lot of additional rich information. You're actually also going to see part of what we published inside of our portal, okay? And so, and then again, it's now, you can see I published it in my portal, and we have, you know, reduced information out there, and I can have more detail inside of my applications to help me do my job. All right? So here you'll see the local government dashboard. So again, now what this piece here in this component is, again, part of Power BI and the power behind this, right? You can put this data and information nearly anywhere. Do it quickly, do it easily, it looks pretty, right? So if we're hitting on those four things from a success perspective. So if I scroll down here, notice that we've got, you know, data from the street department, from the police department, from the, I don't know, whoever handles, I guess, consensus department, right? Whoever's tracking population, planning board, and who's filling out applications and looking for licenses or permits. As I scroll down here, I can see additional details about that. So crimes reported by area. Again, there's our incidents, our traffic accidents. We're now also pulling in ticket information. So these are parking tickets and what are the trends of those parking tickets over time. Here, look, we've now also put in that same dashboard Twitter information and social engagement information, right? So think about this. I'm taking information and data from different areas of our government and mashing them up into one view, right? Think about how hard that would be today without something like Dynamics 365 and Power BI. I know, it would be pretty darn difficult, especially, you know what I'm talking about, if you've tried to do that yourself. But looky here, we've even got some nice, you know, thematic mapping capabilities, facility information. Now, all these things are just really amazing to be able to do very quickly and very cost effectively. Okay. So now let's take a look at our actual BI dashboard inside of the Power BI component. So again, we can hit our waffle icon. So if I go back to here, we can hit our waffle icon and then hit our Power BI icon. And what that's going to do is that will take me to my Power BI application. All right. So we'll just assume I click that button and it takes me here, right? So now here's that same dashboard that was surfaced inside of CRM as well as inside of our portal. But you know what, I want to drill down into this a little bit. And so, but I'm going to do that first by asking some questions. Right? I just want to ask a couple simple questions and see if the system can help me answer some of those questions. So I'm going to just do the first one is like, you know, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Power BI, let's say how many crimes, again, I may misspell as I talk and type at the same time, how many crimes by category? And so there we go, it's thinking, it's looking through that, and count of, there we go. And see, now notice it was able to figure out what I was trying to say and showed me those details. So there it is. It looks like we've got the biggest crime by category is antisocial behavior, followed by, you know, looks like maybe petty thefts, and then by violent issues. Okay, so think about that. Now what we can do is we can drill down into those details and see what's behind that, right, and start to get to that wisdom level and take action. Here's another one. We'll say maybe how many facilities, by category. There we go. So we have by category. So it looks like in our little town, this is awesome. We've got more city parks than any other facility, right? So we're really into outdoors. We want to provide our citizens amazing experiences, lots of green space, lots of places to walk, lots of places to take their dogs. Awesome. I want to move here. All right. So that's how simple it is to just be able to ask, normal conversation-based questions to the system. Or we can actually go in, and if I click on any of these items, it'll take me now to the details. And now I can do more slicing and dicing capabilities and see, for example, some of those things that are more interesting to me from a data perspective to help my citizens and constituents. Okay. Now let's look at what else we can do here. I'm going to go into the desktop application. This is where we generally will create these new dashboards. Okay, and I know that local city, state governments love their ESRI data, right? ArcGIS, also you might know that as. ESRI has an application called ArcGIS, A-R-C-G-I-S, that has basically tons and tons of mapping and profile type data, right? So you can see here for what I did here is I just took some information from Virginia Beach. They are part of that open data concept. And I just downloaded some files that showed locations of all and types or categories of the facilities that they have. And I overlaid this in an ESRI map. Okay? So let's see how I can maybe change it up. Now notice here, the red dots are city parks, the green dots are elementary schools, the purple or the green is golf courses. Doesn't that match? High schools are red dots, libraries orange, etc. You get it, right? But here now, maybe I want to take a slightly different look at this information. So I can come into my edit area here, and I can have different types of maps. Okay, so maybe I want to change this map to maybe just kind of a light gray canvas. I don't need the colors. I don't need the other semantics. I can do that. If we want to go in and take a look at our themes here, then we can add different overlays on top of that. So this is a way that you can kind of think of if I wanted to see more of a heat map, okay? If I'm interested in where's the highest concentration of our parks, I can do that. Where's the highest concentration of our high schools, right? It really helps me narrow in and see the details that are happening from just all of our facilities perspective. Okay, now think about that, crime, accidents, all of those things now really helps us surface and move higher up that value chain and value pyramid to get to true understanding. Now, if I wanted to be able to pull in, and notice here I can put in URLs, it'll take me right to that. We can even put this in so it'll take me, if it happened to be case data, right, and I want to see information related specifically to those cases, it'll take me right back to that CRM record, just like we saw that it did it inside of our social engagement application as well as inside of Outlook. Okay? And by the way, yes, mobile too is all part of that capability. Okay? So if I wanted to just kind of see, where's all our libraries and the highest concentration of those, there's our libraries. Looks like we've got 10 of them, and spread pretty well out. But I'm going to guess that if you see the darker areas, near the higher density populations. Pretty sweet, right? Awesome information. So with that, we're going to conclude the demonstration, and just got a couple of more follow-up things here on our presentation, and then we will call it a day. So with that, we're going to open it up to Q&A. So Petra, let's see if we've got some questions here.
Great. Thanks, Mike. That was awesome. We still have a couple of minutes until 12, so as a reminder, you can still submit your questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel on the right. There were a couple that came in, though. Let's see. We have, how secure is my data?
That's always top of mind for everybody. And I believe, and we believe, that the data in this Microsoft platform is probably more secure than anywhere else. And the reason we say that is it is always encrypted at all times, whether it's at rest or whether you're actually viewing the data, is all 100% encrypted, like military-grade encryption. If you go out to the search for Microsoft Trust Center, and what you'll find is there's a list of about 20 plus certifications and third-party audits that Microsoft goes through, all centered around security. So we're what was it? FinServ compliant, we're HIPAA compliant, we're government compliant, ISO compliant. There's literally 20 plus out there, and they do this every year. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 billion plus is spent by Microsoft just on security for these data centers. So in our view, extremely secure, and that's something that once people see what Microsoft does there, I think they become much more comfortable with the security aspect.
Great, thank you. All right, we've got how much of the solution is COTS versus AKA customized?
And by COTS, just for those that may not know, commercial off-the-shelf application. So it's a packaged, application. And we add about maybe 30% additional functionality on top of the what you get out of the box. So most of that centers around configuration and integration to other systems. And so we've just what we've done is we call this an accelerator. We pre-built a lot of the functionality based upon our interactions with other government, both local, state, and federal governments, on what kind of needs they have, and we've incorporated that in here so that you don't have to start from the from the ground up with a blank canvas. You start with our government accelerator. So roughly 70% out of box, 30% additional capability and configuration. Good question.
Awesome. We've got one last one, and then we're going to be right at 12. We've got, what is the scalability of these solutions to large federal agencies?
That's another big one. And the answer is very big. Let's see, the largest implementation that I'm aware of is the U.S. Air Force, and their procurement division. They have over 40,000 users on their one tenant. So I believe there's a couple others out there that are larger, somewhere in that 100,000 user. I mean, there's not that many people who have 100,000 employees, right? So as far as we've been able to see, scalability is no issue when it comes to the Microsoft Cloud Platform.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you all.
So we've got we've got a couple of next steps here on the screen. So if you're interested in meeting to discuss Dynamics 365 for Business or business intelligence options, or scheduling a personal deep dive on areas of interest to you particularly, and that's applicable to your government, please reach out to us. Mike is available to help you, and we are available to meet your needs. So that concludes the question and the presentation today. And I just want to thank Mike heartily for going through that with us. That was really wonderful. And thank everyone on the line for joining us today for our webinar, Take Citizens Engagement from Adequate to Effective with Power BI. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, you will be receiving a follow-up email with a link to the recording of today's webinar in the next few business days. If you have any other questions, as I said, please contact Mike directly at mhammons@akaes.com. It's right there on the screen. On behalf of AKA, thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.